Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast, coming to you live on a Thursday night, where we hope to have more energy than Al Michaels does on a weekly basis, calling in the Amazon Prime broadcast. But excited, in all seriousness, to talk about this Chargers-Commanders game with my guy, Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Don't disrespect Al Michaels. I bet you he could at least identify a stunt once during a game. I'm doing very well, despite the Chargers' best efforts to ruin my week. I had a very good one in my professional life as a teacher. It was just a very good week, like working with the students. It was just a very engaging last couple of days. So it's been fun.
Yeah, we had our first college application workshop at our school today. Had a great turnout. Brooke and I are celebrating our 8th wedding anniversary on Saturday night. So it's kind of crazy that we are at 8 years already. So we're going to the nicest restaurant in town on Saturday night, having a good time. Brooke got me a chess set, a custom chess set for our anniversary. So
Nice.
Excited for that one for sure.
You have to bring it to training camp and play Justin Herbert or Rashawn Slater next year, man.
Absolutely down to play anybody, anytime. It's fun. Like, so Brooke is doing this. She turns 30 in May.
Mm-hmm.
So she's doing this list of 30 things she wants to do before she turns 30. And she's made fun of me for playing chess and liking chess for a long time. But she put that on her list without me influencing her at all, that she wanted to learn how to play chess. So I got like a little like $10 plastic board off of Amazon, and we were playing. And then just, again, like her decision, she decided to go out and get a nice big custom chess set for our anniversary. So it's a big,
That's
heavy sucker, smelled like freshly cut wood, and then the pieces are like heavy metal pieces, which I love. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. The biggest news of the week actually still also belongs to Steven and Brooke, because Brooke's going to be watching The Lord of the Rings for the first time.
Yes.
I can't even express how jealous I am that you get to be there to watch your wife watch Lord of the Rings for the first time. I spend more time than I should watching reactions of strangers watching Lord of the Rings. And I sit there and I cry with them every single time.
Yeah.
Those movies are awesome. I am so jealous that you get to show your wife The Lord of the Rings for the first time. No, that's not what all of you are here for. That's an important thing to point out this week.
It is an important thing to point out. Again, so on her list is that she wanted to see 30 classic movies that she has never seen before. And she was like coming up with a list, and like half jokingly, like last week, I was like, hey, like, what about Lord of the Rings? I've been trying to get her for years to watch Lord of the Rings. And she's always like, no, it's too nerdy. It's too long. I don't like, she usually does not like, big fighting shows kind of thing.
Sure.
And she's always just been against it. But, every so often I'm like, hey, like, let's watch this. And she finally gave in. So, this 30 for 30 list is eventually just turning into things that I like to do. So I'm all for it, man. We're going to watch Fellowship of the Ring this weekend on Saturday, because the Utes are on a bye. So we'll see what happens there. But, our goal is to finish all 3 before Christmas is her new thing. So I am not going to make her sit through the extended edition. Those movies are extremely long. So we're doing the regular theatrical ones. But I'm getting, those lights that you can get behind your TV where they like change the color after, what's being on the show. I'm going to get with those, and we're going to make it as big as we can.
That's freaking awesome. I'm jealous. If she has to watch one extended one, definitely make it the third one. I think that does
for sure.
But
for sure.
I'm very jealous. I watch them all the time. You and I probably watch it all the time, or at least like once per year. Yes. I definitely do. My wife and I watch the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and all that. So I'm very, very jealous. I'm very curious. No judgment, but also my entire opinion of Brooke is going to depend on whether or not. Will Steven and Brooke make it to year 9? We'll find out. It really depends on this reaction here.
Yeah, it's funny. I've gotten her to like not she doesn't love all the Marvel stuff. She really loved like WandaVision, Moon Knight. She loved Loki, and a lot of the movies she'll just go to because we always go with like generally like a group of friends and things like that. So she kind of like tolerates the Marvel movies. She kind of tolerates the Star Wars movies because we always like make a thing of it. So I think if Lord of the Rings like came out now, I could like convince her to go with us and make a night of it. But now she's finally giving in, and we'll be watching Fellowship of the Ring on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, look, if nothing else, Aragorn's a total thirst trap. So like, just enjoy that for when he just breaks through the doors and the beacons are lit and all that. Like,
Yeah,
hey, at least enjoy that part of the movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I can't wait. All right, before we get back to our nitty gritty of the show, Chargers Commanders preview, have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast and every episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. There are a lot of interesting matchups in this game, which we will get to. Obviously, the Omari and Hampton show is in full swing potentially. Is that an area where you guys want to get in on the action? The Justin Herbert passing touchdowns unfortunately did not really hit this past week, but they have been a strong selection in the previous week. So maybe this is a strong bounce back week for Justin Herbert. Surprise Picks is simple. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action in on sports in more than 40 plus states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Obviously, baseball playoffs are in full swing. Definitely encourage you to check that out. So the best way to do that is to download the app today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code GUILTY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Okay, a lot of stuff to cover today for Chargers Commanders. Tyler and I were talking about maybe being a little less excited about this game just with all the injuries on the Charger side, on the Commander side as well. But there are obviously a lot of interesting matchups, which we'll get into from a coaching standpoint, from a individual player standpoint. And, Tyler, as usual, had some fun with his slideshow of the week. Tyler's muted and he's saying, hold on, he's got to get the share screen up on the screen.
I just realized the slides were not ready. Sorry. Here we go. We're getting there. Drum roll, please. Everyone can guess what the theme for this week would be. I thought about going something completely politically insensitive. Didn't do that. Another option was sewage because of that one time. Couldn't find enough on that. So I went with pigs.
Pigs. Always a good one. Always a good one.
Not too bad. Not too bad. So yes, Washington Commanders Week 5 preview. Here we go.
All right. So summarizing the 2025 free agent moves from the Washington Commanders, notable signings include Javon Kinlaw, who we will be talking about later, Von Miller, Marcus Mariota, who's been starting the previous 2 weeks, Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz were re-signed. Nick Bellore, I think, is one of their special teams players. Defensive back Will Harris is currently on injured reserve. They traded for Marshawn Lattimore last season. They traded for Deebo Samuel this offseason, as well as Laramie Tunsil. So the Washington Commanders are, potentially, I guess, theoretically, all the way in on the Jaden Daniels rookie contract. Notable departures, Jonathan Allen, who's been wrecking shop for the Minnesota Vikings. De'Ami Brown, former guilty as charged draft crush De'Ami Brown. Jeremy Chin, who's on the Raiders. Dante Fowler, who's back with the Cowboys. And then Benjamin St. Juste, who's obviously on the Chargers. So not a ton of notable departures. Obviously, Jonathan Allen is the big one there. But Tyler, any thoughts on this group of players for the Washington Commanders?
I mean, they were in the absolute best case scenario at the end of last year where they made the NFC Championship. Rookie quarterback looks fantastic. Evan ranks him ahead of Herbert for some reason. Fine. And you're ready to rock. Like, things look pretty good. Most of your core is there. And then you just go out and get talent like this. Not that there was like a huge, I don't know, acquisition here, but like you could get offensive line issues, you go get Tunsil. You need some weapons, you go get these guys. Javon Kinlaw, all these guys. And you have the makings of what could be what almost felt like a super team in a way. And sure, true super team fashion, things fell apart. And Jaden Daniels got hurt, and everyone's been hurt. I don't know who Daniels is throwing to. We'll talk about the injury report in a second. It's now going to be like McCaffrey, like all these additions, all these options, and their big target could be Luke McCaffrey on Sunday. So in terms of what they did, and especially getting Tunsil from the Texans, who I still don't understand why they decided to give up an offensive line. It's not like it's been great. This process was outstanding. What they went after here, some more low risk, some high risk, mid range, more expensive. But I really like what they did, knowing where they were after last year.
Yeah, obviously Adam Peters is a guy that we talked about for the Chargers job for a lot of what we felt like was a very aggressive front office in San Francisco, and they've continued to do that. Like they're extremely aggressive every single year in trying to trade for pieces, sign pieces, and getting Debo back to potentially his form, although he might not play this week, has been helpful for them in a variety of ways. Laremy Tunsil has been, I think, about exactly what they would have hoped. I don't think he has performed at his, previously elite self, but certainly showing that last year in Houston was kind of an aberration of sorts, where he's able to come out there and play at a really high level and, just kind of solidify the offensive line in theory, which we'll get to the rest of them in a second here. But good moves all around. They take some flyer defensive lineman contracts that they've kind of have always done. That is Dan Quinn's specialty. And Javon Kinlaw, who was not great in San Francisco, they gave a pretty big contract to, and he's actually looked pretty good for them so far. So Dan Quinn, similarly to Jesse Minter, has, an influence on his position of choice, and the defensive line for the Commanders is pretty stout.
Yeah, 2 years ago on the Chargers podcast, it's like, okay, who should the Chargers bring? No, it was last year. Yeah, it was last year. That's right. Anyway, I was like, who should we bring in under like $10 million contracts? One of them was Frankie Louvu. The other one was Javon Kinlaw. Now they're both here. The other two are Derrick Henry and Tyrod Taylor because they needed a backup. They definitely needed a backup that year. So here we go. It's a great team for priors, I guess. Although I really hope they do terribly on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So with all the trades, not a ton of draft picks for the Washington Commanders, just 5. The good news is that 4 of them are actively playing for this team. Josh Connerly, some hit or miss play for Josh Connerly, but I think showing some good signs as a future, stalwart offensive tackle. Trey Amos, who we all really, really liked on this podcast, is playing really fantastically for them. Kind of outplaying Marshawn Lattimore right now, at least just from what I saw on PFF. Jalen Lane, who's had some moments, not playing a ton on offense, but he did have a punt return. Again, more on that later. Kane Madrano, special teams contributor for the most part. And then because of the Austin Eckler injury, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has been at least their most effective running back. He's not, they are doing a full split committee. I have Krosky-Merritt on fantasy football, so it's not been super fun to watch, but he's extremely efficient with his touches right now. So at least 4 instant contributors for the Washington Commanders out of their 5 picks.
Yeah, Connerly just feels like a classic. Yeah, he'll probably get there. He'll probably be fine for them, but just a little rougher rookie season for now.
Sure.
Most of the games have been fine, or 3 of them. And then it was 9 pressures and 3 sacks versus the Packers, which kind of just derailing his entire number here. So the overall number is not great. Seems to be fine. I'm very happy with Trey Amos. This is someone I don't think I gave a first round pick to, a grade to, but it was like top.
It was very close for both of us.
For me. Yeah. Only one. It's crazy that this is the corner class. I don't know if it's usually like this, but one of only 4 rookie corners with 100 snaps or more this year. Like only 4 rookies have actually been starting, which is crazy. 4th in the NFL in incompletion rate, only 81 yards allowed, 72 passer rating, 13th in the NFL in snaps per reception. I looked at excuse me. I looked at Commanders media just to see what's the feel on him. Is he just really not being targeted? Is he just, are they just going at Lattimore? And everything I see on the guy in terms of how he's being covered by the media is just, this dude's playing great. And so, yay. I guess, unfortunately, that means he's good on Sunday, and we'll talk about him in a bit. Bill Krosky-Merritt, of course, they trade Brian Robinson. They trade or cut Brian Robinson.
Traded him to the 49ers, yeah.
That's right. Who I don't know.
And he's barely playing for the 49ers right now.
Yeah, so. Would be nice. But yeah, of course, the Eckler injury, I don't know how that's going to turn out his career. Season like it might be a career ender, but yeah, has shown up, been very efficient from a pure efficiency standpoint. He's been fantastic, but I think he's never had over 10 carries, I believe. So it's a very low rushing volume guy. I think maybe 3 to 5 catches so far this year too, but he's been efficient, just not a ton of high volume stuff.
Yeah. Efficiency, not a high volume thing for sure. Okay, injury report, the dreaded injury report for the Chargers this week. The potentially the biggest one, and I guess no pun intended there. We'll see about Mekhi Becton this week. Good news that he's been able to get back into practice. He participated in individual drills yesterday, worked off to the side that day, and then today did a little bit more, worked into some position drills, things like that. But he has been limited through both practices this week. So people have been asking online, can he play if he does not log a full participation tomorrow? My understanding of concussion protocol is that the answer to that question is no. He has to log one full participation in practice before he can clear protocol. So concussion protocol is kind of a 5-step process. If you Google it, the NFL has like a graphic up about it. The last step is that you participate it fully in practice without any recurring symptoms. So that can still happen tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, if Mekhi Becton plays, it'll be a huge swing for the Chargers. But TBD there. Darius Davis continues to miss time with his knee injury. Will Disley also limited in practice this week. And then Derwin James, Tarheeb still have been limited in practice this week as well. And then obviously Joe Alt has not practiced, and we still have no idea what the diagnosis is officially. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Jim Harbaugh called it an ankle sprain and not a high ankle sprain. And in typical Jim Harbaugh fashion, said that he didn't know if he was going to be placed on IR, despite being the person who makes that decision. So, we'll see what happens with the offensive line. More on that later. But let's get some prayer circles going that Mr. Mekhi Becton can play this week, because that would be huge for this team.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll start with Alt. I guess it's maybe positive that he hasn't immediately been placed on IR, so I suppose that's good. But I think we expect this to be a week's thing, not just suddenly returning next week. Becton is a huge swing for the Chargers in this game. And if you don't believe me, watch last week's game, where it's not just pass protection, it's the run game. And there's, let's just say, between, the pressures given up, or like less pressures given up, and some better run support there, let's say it's 8 plays that Mekhi Becton has like a true edge over Jamari Sawyer in. And those are like big time plays, 6 dropbacks, let's say 2 running plays. I don't know, 8 to 10. That is a huge swing for the Chargers for this week. Any week in particular, of course, last week, definitely. But you have something later about Becton and how it affects the win prediction. Spoiler. I don't think it's that far out to say that Mekhi Becton starting or not starting, compounded with all the other things on this offensive line, genuinely affects the outcome of this game. He's been great for them. Hasn't been out there a ton, but has been great for them. If he's not out there, I don't know what to tell you. I was talking to Steven before the show. It just seems like it's going to be an ugly, kind of gross, boring game. And if Mekhi Becton can't be out there, this is just going to be a real uggo game.
Yeah. So the Chargers obviously made a few moves from an offensive line standpoint today, or not today, this week, I should say. So Foster Sorrell has been elevated to the active 53-man roster. So the Chargers officially have 9 on the 53 right now. They signed Bobby Hart as well as Michael Dunn. And then today they brought back Sam Mustipher. So they've been busy trying to find solutions. Daniel Popper said yesterday that Jamari Sawyer was working at left tackle when the media had access to practice. And then today it was Austin Deculus. And that kind of backs up with what I was told, is that the Chargers were going to explore a variety of options. And Greg Roman talked today about, Jim Harbaugh kind of altering the practice structure this week to try and get as many reps with the first team offensive line as they could in these limited, windows of practice. So we have no idea how they're going to actually roll out this week. Obviously, if Mekhi Becton plays, that simplifies one thing, where he's your right guard. And then you just have to choose Austin Deculus or Jamari Sawyer at left tackle. If Becton does not play, I said this on Tuesday. I am just so uninterested in seeing Jamari Sawyer play guard right now. I think it's a major problem, and I am less against him playing at tackle, I guess, but I just don't see a player worthy of starting right now. If you play him at tackle, you at least can kind of, you know, gauge where he's at from a physicality standpoint a little bit more. Maybe that gives him his edge back because he has, you know, a bigger advantage that way.
Mhm.
If Mekhi Becton is not playing and you're going with the offensive line that finished last week's game, I think that is a major edge for the Washington Commanders right now.
Oh yeah, and they don't have one. I don't know. Well, I guess I'd say Chris Jones, but it's kind of a rough year. One elite rusher in that group, but they have a lot of dudes who can get after it. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. This game has so much bummed me out over the course of the week. If it really is Sawyer at guard, fine. It's going to be rough. If it's a tackle, it just seems like it's going to suck. I don't know. I don't really have any faith in this thing working out. The Jamari Sawyer that I knew and fell in love with has disappeared. And maybe it's because there's been so much shuffling or the weight loss or the bad coaching, whatever. But I just don't think the Frank Smith, not that he was perfect, I don't think the Frank Smith, Jamari Sawyer at tackle is the same one we're suddenly going to get with Devlin and Sawyer at tackle. I just don't think that same protection plan, that is all there. I suppose there's fewer mental errors that are possible, like we saw against the Giants at tackle. It's just like Jamari Sawyer is what he is. Whereas at guard, it's like, oh, please like communicate with the center and pick up that stunt. So hopefully maybe it's a communication thing. I don't know. It's sad. I liked Jamari Sawyer so much, and I thought he looked good the first couple of years, and then it's just nosedived last 2 years. So yeah, pray for Mekhi Becton to be out there.
Yeah. If Mekhi Becton is out there, I think the Chargers can get by. We'll talk about the Commanders' defensive line here in a minute. But if Mekhi Becton is not out there, I don't know, man. I don't know how this offense gets to 23 points without Mekhi Becton out there. Like, it really feels like that big of a swing for me. On the Commanders side, so they're actually already traveling to LA. They'll have a walkthrough practice tomorrow out here, which I think is interesting. We usually don't see that a whole lot in the NFL. So Noah Brown, Sam Cosmi, who they're trying to work back from injured reserve, and Terry McLaurin are all already designated as out. They are not traveling with the team. So that is obviously a big potential swing for the Commanders as well. Jaden Daniels will be back. He has been cleared. It sounds like he is at least close to 100%, according to Dan Quinn. But some other very notable DNPs right now, including Deebo Samuel, who will be featured later, as well as Mikey Sainristil, the former Michigan corner who is playing, slot corner more this year for the Commanders. Both of those players have traveled. So we'll see ultimately tomorrow what that looks like. But obviously very notable that Terry McLaurin in particular is not going to be making it. And then Noah Brown is their third receiver. And so there's a pretty decent chance that the Commanders are playing without their top three wide receivers in this one against Jesse Minter and his defense.
Yeah, you think if you lose your top receiver, the defense could stop them. But then again, last Sunday's game really bummed me out. Again, if it feels like I'm totally bummed about this game, it's because I just watched the Giants on film for like 7 hours the other day. But it is a huge break for the Chargers. If all three were healthy and if the Commanders were healthier overall, I don't even think I would be attending this game. I think it'd be a very rough showing if this was a full-strength Commanders team or pretty close to it. Without that and with all these DNPs, it was so strange to see declared out already with three players. But like you said, they're traveling already. They've already made their declarations. He's not even traveling with them. I thought I saw something about McLaurin being out there the other day and like, okay, here we go. Classic Chargers. Here comes the opponent. They're getting healthy. But nope, him not being out there is huge for this team. I think they need it right now in a bounce back game from last week. Not that coverage was terrible. I just think they need a bounce back game. So
yeah.
The good news about the Chargers having their own injuries is the Commanders have their own injuries, and that's that.
Yeah, that is that. Okay, before we continue, our audio audience is going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back after this with more Chargers Commanders. Okay, so every week we pick a coaching storyline to focus on. I think we both have the main thing, which is the offense. So, Tyler, what are you looking for from Greg Roman and Justin Herbert and the rest of this Chargers offense this week?
Yeah, what is the plan to keep Justin Herbert alive? I wish it seems so simple. It seems very broad. Even it even feels lazy. But I watched that game against the Giants. And went, what is the plan for your quarterback here? And this is what I think I said after the Bucks game, and they did okay against the Broncos last year. Having Slater and all helped. What the heck is your plan? Is it better pass protection? Is it maybe Will Dissly's out there and you've got maybe Tucker Fisk has his own limited injury too? Does that help? Are you going to run it more than 12 times with Hampton in this game? I don't know what the answer is, but I got to see Greg Roman figure it out. I never thought that Roman would be fired this year. If they go do what they did against the Giants, which is completely coaching malpractice from the scheme to from basically every standpoint, I'll call for firings. I'll call for jobs. I'm not in a contract anymore. I'll start calling for Greg Roman to be fired because you're an idiot. If that's the same game plan they go out with, let's drop back 46 times in a positive to neutral game script while Hampton is averaging 10 yards a carry. Granted, that was one big run. Fire everybody. To what is your plan? Because I watched Herbert, his arm wear out over the course of a game. Get hit over and over and over and over again. 46 pressures in his last 90-something dropbacks. It's almost 50% of his dropbacks he's been pressured on the last 2 weeks. What's the plan, dude? What's the plan, Greg Roman?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a game where if as an offensive coordinator, it's a little justifiable that during the middle of the game, we lose our tackle. In the next few drives after that, we just kind of can't protect. We're figuring things out on the fly. It's a little justifiable to me. That's a very difficult task when you lose somebody like Joel in the middle of the game. Now you get this entire week to prepare for what is a very different unit than what the Giants were. The Giants obviously have the 3 speedy rushers and the Commanders. Right. Their best edge rusher, Dorrance Armstrong, is a bit more of a bigger body. He's a bit more what they practice with Khalil and Thule and Bud, where he's a bigger guy, wants to power rush you. But the defensive tackle room, while this team doesn't have a Dexter Lawrence, they have 3 guys who are all very capable pass rushers right now, led by Deron Payne and obviously Javon Kinlaw, who we mentioned, and Johnny Newton, who we really liked in the draft. So this is a game where Greg Roman theoretically should be able to say, okay, I know what group I mostly am working with up front. I know I need to stop letting Justin Herbert get hit as much. And how do we kind of overcompensate for what we think is a potential weak link up front? So we've kind of talked about the Armani Hampton show, but screens, RPOs, max protects, let's get 6 offensive linemen out there. Let's keep Tucker Fisk out there. Anything that you can do to keep Herbert upright is extremely important this week.
Yeah, and then as you have on here as well, just Greg Roman versus the blitz could be from a variety of people you might talk about, but I think Luvu and Wagner average 15 blitzes a game at this current rate. More so Luvu than anything else, and that's his thing. I think he had 30 or 40 pressures last year. That was his thing, but it works for them. That is what they leaned into, and it got him either a Pro Bowl or at least maybe an All-Pro, but definitely a Pro Bowl last year.
Pro Bowl, yeah.
Was Wagner an All-Pro?
Wagner was an All-Pro, but Bobby Wagner has the best PR department in the history of NFL football players.
Yeah. Yeah. Been playing a year longer than Keenan Allen, too. I can't believe he's still in the league and doing all that. Greg Roman versus the blitz, protection, whatever it is. I am very curious, too, how often they blitz just to keep Hampton inside. He's such a dangerous weapon for them as a pass protector. Can you force them to have to keep Hampton in the backfield to pass protect rather than let him go out and get 40 to 50 yards?
Yeah. So numbers wise, you mentioned the 2 linebackers. Frankie Luvu has blitzed already this season 43 times. The only players who have blitzed more than him at linebacker are Caden Ellis for the Falcons, who is kind of like a pseudo edge rusher. He doesn't just only blitz. And then Derek Barnes for the Lions, who also similarly is kind of an edge rusher in certain situations. So if you're only counting like true off the ball linebackers who are rushing the passer from off the ball, Frankie Luvu leads the league in blitzes by like quite a lot. Last year, he was extremely productive as a blitzer. And this year, it's been a bit more of a mixed bag. So he's at 4 pressures right now, 1 sack, which is definitely less than it was last year. But Bobby Wagner has only blitzed 21 times, and he has 8 pressures and 2 sacks on those blitzes. So while Luvu has come down as a blitzer, Bobby Wagner has gone up, which again is great. His PR firm is going to be like, look at my guy getting all these sacks. He's going to be an all-pro again. It's going to be stupid as shit. So overall, the Washington Commanders blitz at the 11th highest rate in the NFL. This is Dan Quinn, I think, made his return to glory, if you will, in Dallas by changing things up. When he was the Falcons head coach / in charge of their defense, they ran the very typical Gus Bradley, we never blitz, we play cover 3, and that ultimately got him fired in Atlanta. And so his change up in Dallas was, well, we're going to crank that thing up. Obviously, Michael Parsons is a huge part of that. In Washington, it's Frankie Luvu, it's Bobby Wagner. And if the Chargers are not ready for these blitzes, it's going to be a long day. And that is even if Mekhi Becton plays. Like, they have to be on it from a blitz pickup standpoint. It's very different where the Giants did, I feel like, very rarely blitzed Herbert. They were just doing more stunts and things like that. This Washington team will absolutely blitz you. And if you can't protect against the blitz, Frankie Luvu and Bobby Wagner are just going to keep on blitzing, and keep on blitzing.
Yeah, if Sawyer sticks it right, you have Bozeman, you're just aiming at that point, and you have 2 guys who are just unfortunately not quick or athletic enough to even cover the ground. Should you rush guys the right way? So, yeah, I don't recall them having too many struggles with blitzes specifically this year. Like, I think, granted, the lines have changed, of course. Like against the Chiefs, I think it was good. Don't remember how often the Raiders did it. I think they've done okay in that department, but they're going to send them, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, so PFF charts this. 61% of Herbert's pressure dropbacks have come when he has not been blitzed. So they do not account, at least in the version that is available to the public and we can pay for. They do not differentiate between like a stunt, a simulated pressure, and a blitz, that specifically. So the Chargers, I think we all know that they are really struggling to pick up stunts. That's the main issue right now with this team, as opposed to blitzes. So we'll see what happens there. He has been blitzed, or when blitzed and it results in a pressure, is at 38% as opposed to 61%. So they're at least better when they actually blitz, I guess. And we said this last week, or maybe it was the week before, that Justin Herbert has had a tremendous amount of EPA added when other teams are blitzing him. So we know Herbert can identify the blitzes. We just need the offensive line to identify the stunts, and we're golden.
Yeah, all they just have to do is their jobs, and everything will be just fine. As far as I recall, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the Broncos did. I mean, granted, they have a great defensive line, but I feel like they were simulating blitz so much and then actually backed off more often than they blitzed. I'm very curious because I genuinely do think that worked for the Broncos for the most part. If the Commanders will kind of try the same thing, like, yeah, okay, we could send the house. We do have a good pass rushing group. Well, let's actually give you more fits because we can rush 3 or 4. And unfortunately, someone's going to make a stupid mistake on the line, mess up, or Herbert throws a double coverage or something. I just feel I'm curious if they take kind of like a Broncos approach and just kind of back off.
I think that was the Broncos approach, and then Mekhi got injured because PFF has them charting at a 39% blitz rate against the Chargers. They meaning the Broncos.
Oh, wow. Allen, Cooper, Benito, Franklin Myers, DJ Jones, Tillman. Yeah. I don't know who Dondrea Tillman is.
Chiefs blitz Herbert. Yeah, Chiefs blitzed Herbert on a 41% rate, which is crazy. The Raiders were 27%. They don't really blitz a whole lot anyway.
Yeah.
Broncos 39%. And then Giants this last week was 24%, according to PFF.
All right. So blitz like Broncos, look good. Don't blitz like Giants, still look good. So they got some options, I guess, for the Commanders, unfortunately.
Yes, this is, again, another reason why we want Mekhi Becton back out on the field. the good news is like when you're preparing for the blitz, like the backs and the tight ends are extremely important there. So if you keep Omari Hampton in, I feel good about where he's at from a pass protection standpoint. But then, like you mentioned, he's got 120 receiving yards. I think he's like 7th among all rookies in receiving yards, which is kind of funny. And you want him out there again. More on that later, but Hampton is a pretty high quality pass protector at this point.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what are we most excited to see? I mentioned the linebackers. This is potentially more about the safeties, but the Washington Commanders, they blitz a lot. They play a lot of cover 1. They play a lot of cover 3. They do the stereotypical Dan Quinn coverages. So when it comes to cover 1, they're playing cover 1 about a 27% rate, and cover 3 is about 28% rate. So over 50% of their dropbacks are cover 1 or cover 3. That's the good news for Justin Herbert. He has historically feasted against those particular looks because, makes a lot of sense that you have a simpler defense. Your better quarterbacks kind of carve that thing up. So when it comes to the linebackers, I know it seemed like a big anti-Bobby Wagner guy after this show. It just makes no sense to me why he's still regarded as he does. But Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu, they're not coverage players. They are blitzers. They are run defenders. That's why the Commanders are paying them. And I think last week you saw the Falcons kind of take a big red dot and say, hey, we're going to make you cover Bijan Robinson. And Bijan is a different, short area athlete than Omarion Hampton is. But, there's a lot to love about what Omarion Hampton can do as a pass catcher. He obviously hit almost 22 miles per hour in the big run last week. So he's plenty athletic. He can definitely run routes. We haven't really seen him run a ton of diverse routes. It's been a lot of like stop routes, screens, wheels, things like that. But he can definitely run routes. I think Kamani Vidal, this could be a route game for him as well. So I think this is potentially a really good game for the backs, in that standpoint. And then you look at the safeties, man. Quan Martin has not been good for the Washington Commanders. So Quan Martin, formerly of Illinois, has allowed the 2nd most yards in the NFL of any safety in the league, and he has the lowest coverage grade of any safety in the league. So if I'm Greg Roman and I'm trying to figure out how to dice things up here a little bit, I'm putting a big red dot on Quan Martin, and I'm trying to get him to cover Ladd McConkey, trying to get him to cover these tight ends. Maybe this is an Aronde Gadsden game. So I think the Chargers, their game plan is going to be very interesting overall. But when it comes to like passing the ball, like I think they need to target the middle of the field and make these linebackers and safeties cover, make them run in space, because it's very clearly not their strength. And that's not how this Commanders team has been building this defense so far.
Yeah, and I think that worked for them against the Broncos, where it was, okay, go attack the linebackers, attack the safeties. Obviously with Hampton, that helped quite a bit. Alex Singleton in that game gave up 6 catches for 53 yards. McMillan, 2 catches, 24 yards, et cetera, et cetera. So going after that is something that Greg Roman actually has done before, and I've seen him do it, and it made sense and looked pretty good. And he went after him quite a bit. Some of the times the pass protection didn't hold up, so he couldn't capitalize, but he went after him, and I thought it looked really good in particular. So if it's Quan, single him, great. If it's Singleton against the Broncos, it's him. So I like that approach. I think that's a good one to point out here. I can't believe I'm saying this for my most excited to see, but it's Quentin Johnston against the corners. I because of the Priders, I'm just dying to see Trey Amos, who's very physical, very much, as we pointed out, like 4th or whatever it is in forced incompletion rate in the NFL. That versus this kind of new look Quentin Johnston. Not that he has a ton of contested catches, not that he's super physical right now, but he's elevated his game. And everyone's running with it, and I'm going to be at the game, and people are saying we should say Q now when he catches the football. So I know he's going to have a terrible game against the Commanders now, but I'm hoping he has a good game, because I'm just very excited to see his evolution. And I'm waiting for the Ladd McConkey thing to happen again. I know what I'm getting out of Keenan Allen. Pretty sure same thing with Hampton. Gadsden, I hope he's involved. But Quentin Johnston, for better or worse, almost feels like must-see TV for me now for the Chargers, because it's still a little bit shocking. And then he's just been making great plays. So it's a little bit surprising. It's like, what is it for real? And he does it again. It's like, well, he did it again. And then just the great plays that he's been making. I'm very excited to watch him compete against. I'm hoping it's more Lattimore, because Lattimore has not been good for them. Of all the positive things I saw about Trey Amos, complete opposite for Lattimore. They want this dude off the team. they would probably Commanders fans would trade for Benjamin St. Juste right now. I'm pretty sure. This is how things are going. But Trey Amos, man, like super physical. Loved a ton about him in college, on film, in the college tape. Playing just the best, playing Bowers, playing all these guys, very, very physically. So if not that Trey Amos is a premium, corner, but he's taken those strides. You've seen him even get some good reps against Surtain. You do it against a more physical corner like Amos. That's just another thing to add to his year.
Yeah, I think even Marshall Lattimore, while it's been not great for them, he is somebody who really wants to be physical as well. We've obviously seen all the Lattimore versus Mike Evans thing, so we'll see what happens there. But for everything that I didn't love about the offensive game plan last week, I thought the way that they used Quentin Johnston made a lot of sense. They threw him 2 or 3 smoke routes, so Omari Hampton had 12 carries, but when they throw that smoke route to Quentin, that really is a run play that Justin Herbert is reading. Okay, this corner is way off Quentin Johnston. Let's just throw him the football. And I love getting Quentin the ball that way. Like, give him as many touches as he can handle that allow him to use his athletic traits. And Ladd McConkey, after the Broncos game, was on with, I think was it Jim Rome? It might have been Jim Rome, saying that, like, this is just somebody that he can do things that the rest of the room cannot do, just as an athlete. So getting him those smoke routes, I love. Throw them the football that way. Matt Harmon was talking about this on his fantasy podcast, where they were talking about, like, is the Quentin Johnston breakout real? And he highlighted that Quentin has already in 4 games this year ran more crossing routes than he did his entire rookie season under the previous regime. And he's on pace to run double the amount of crossing routes this year than he did last year. So the Chargers have just been getting more and more opportunities for him to catch the football and run. And that's obviously the way you want to do that. And then he's just doing more of the actual, like, X things. Like I talked about his slant route, on Sunday after the show, or after the game, excuse me. And I just really love the way that he's playing. He looks so confident out there. He's playing physically. And as Kevin Kernick says, if Harmon says it's real, it's real. Like, he is playing extremely good football, and the numbers back that up. So he's 8th in total receptions, 3rd in receiving yards, tied for 3rd in touchdowns. He's 11th in yards per route run. He's tied for 4th in the most contested catches with 6. He's 12th in passer rating when targeted, and he has 1 drop on PFF. And that's the thing that we obviously need to keep seeing continue. That was from 2 weeks ago against the Broncos, for what it's worth. So this is, I don't know if I'm like all the way in terms of, like, yeah, man, this is the wide receiver 1 of this team. But Quentin's playing at such a high level where highlighting him, I think, is a good call.
Yeah, Harmon has been, I've read everything of his on Quentin Johnston, because it's been a yearly thing of, coming out of the draft, this is not a very good profile. It's very unlikely to be a huge success. And then it was his second year, the one with Harbaugh. Hey, they took a step forward, and we were echoing this too. He took a step forward, still a long way to go. For him to come out and say, "Hey, this is for real," yeah, you got to believe at least what Harmon is charting and seeing, because he's gone on this journey kind of with us as Chargers fans, watching this evolution here, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, we don't have McConkey on here. Are we going to guarantee a McConkey breakout for the 3rd week in a row, or are we a little pessimistic now?
I think I'm waiting. I'm still right now believing that Ladd will lead this team in receiving, but we're getting to the point where it's gotta start happening soon if that's going to be true or not. So if Quentin has another good game, and you pointed out on Twitter that he's gone over, what was the line, over 60 yards every game this season?
Yeah,
over 70. So we're pretty close to reaching the point where Quentin might be wide receiver on this team. But Ladd's film this past week was not very good. I'm wondering if the bicep injury was really bothering him that week. But the first 3 games on tape, he's still getting open at a high level. And ESPN, they track everything from a body monitor standpoint. They have him at 4th in open score. So Ladd is still getting open. He's still doing the Ladd things. I just think his vertical route usage has come down, and he's not getting the same amount of volume as last year. So I still believe that he will lead this team in receiving, but we're like 2 more games away from me changing that opinion right now.
Yeah, at some point, it's just the gap is going to be too wide for him to get there. I'm not worried about him. I just now am less sure that he's going to, like you said, be the true wide receiver 1 in terms of receiving yards. Things could change second half of the year. All right, it's McConkey time. Maybe doesn't lead the team in receiving, but clearly he's the guy going into the playoffs. Goes in the playoffs, puts up, what was it, almost 200 yards against the Texans. We're forgetting about everything else.
Yeah,
but I don't mind if this is what it is. If this is what it is for now, and frankly, if he's dealing with an injury or just in general to keep him alive for an entire season, I don't mind if it goes to Quentin. If that's what QJ wants to do, and B, I can't believe it, one of the best receivers in the league statistically, go for it. If that's McConkey not having to get hit 14 times in a game because he's the only guy getting a football, fine.
Yeah, this is a great problem to have. If Ladd is your second best receiver, I think that's great. So it's been funny. There's not been a ton of positive juice for Quentin. I think a lot of the fan base is just kind of waiting to see if this is real. But it's hard not to think it's real, man. Like the 4 games, he looks like a much more confident player. He's certainly more physical after the catch, I would say. The numbers are great. So this is a good matchup for him, and hopefully he's able to continue to put these positive performances out there.
Yeah. And Ladd was half a step, maybe slightly better throw last week from like a 30, 40 yard gain, a couple of drops. Like there are, don't be if man, but there's 80 yards on the field right there. You can see that it's so close to you. So it'll be fine. Yeah.
And as the pressure cranks up, generally speaking, that favors the short area receivers a little bit. So we'll see if Herbert is that. And I do think in a world where you're like designing some RPO touches, that's probably Ladd. You're probably going to put him on some bubble screens and things like that. So I would actually love that for him. So we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
All right, Tyler, what is keeping you up at night about this game?
The Chargers curse and the fact that they are 1 or 2 injuries away from me turning off my TV and just walking my dog every time the Chargers play. At this point, I knew we were going to talk about, the pass protection, for example. That's what's keeping me up. It is. The other thing really, though, is that I just feel they are so close to having the season slip away from them. You watch the alt go down, not season ending. You watch players go down. The offensive line looks garbage. And you're just going, well, at least they have these handful of players. Yeah. And it just feels like they lose somebody every game. Knock on wood. Of course, I don't want to see anything happen. I just feel like what's keeping me up at night is that at any point the season's going to end. And that 3-0 run is going to feel like a distant fever dream that we had one time. It was really cool. But the Chargers just ran out of gas. Like, I don't know if it was 2014 I think it was 2014 when they beat the Seahawks. Oh my God, they couldn't even beat anybody. And that season stunk because they just ran out of players by the time that season was over. And I just am worried that that's what's en route here. So sure, it's defending the run. It's defending Jaden Daniels against, if he runs. It's the pass rush. It's whatever. It's all of that. But really, this season cannot sustain more injuries, and that's what's keeping me up at night.
Yeah, I think on the offensive line, if Mekhi Becton and Joe Alt were healthy, I genuinely don't think I would be that concerned about this issue for the Commanders. Like the Commander, like Dorrance Armstrong is a good player, but if he's your best edge rusher, and he primarily goes up against the left tackle, Armstrong against Joe Alt would be a massacre. Like Alt's not allowing a single pressure in this game if that's the case. So what this ultimately comes down to is, can you stop the blitz? And if Mekhi Becton plays, I feel okay about their chances of stopping Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, Javon Kinlaw. But if Jamari Sawyer is out there, that's a group, particularly with Deron Payne, that can cause a lot of problems for Bradley Bozeman and Jamari Sawyer. And I know everybody's dunking on Bradley Bozeman this week. It has not looked good the last 2 weeks. I get it. He sure looked a lot better when Mekhi Becton was out there. And so if Mekhi Becton can play, then I feel okay about this. But as a trio, Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, and Javon Kinlaw have totaled 35 pressures, which is a lot more than the Chargers interior has, even though I like the players that the Chargers have. This is a group of pass rushing defensive linemen that can get after you. The Commanders blitz a lot. So we've talked a lot about the offensive line, and I'm sure a lot of people who wish we were more positive would, not are tired of us talking about it. But if this looks like last week, it's gonna be tough for them to move the football. And you can run the football a lot more. You can, put in some easy buttons a little bit more, although that's never really been Greg Roman's nature. If they drop back to throw 40 times again, and it's a lot of straight drop back, it's going to be rough for Herbert again, because this offensive line is just so injured and the depth pieces are not performing well that it's going to be tough for them to score the football, and they're going to need the defense to show up and finally figure out how to quarterback spy Jaden Daniels. Otherwise, it could be a long one. So again, pray for Mekhi Becton that he gets out there. If it's not, let's hope that Greg Roman can, finally spam some easy buttons for once in his career. Otherwise, this backup group is just not equipped to handle an aggressive pass rush group from this, like the Washington Commanders have.
No, it is not. Again, if they do drop back over 40 times, well, one, I'm assuming that means the defense didn't do their job, which sucks because they're defending, Zach Ertz, who's, solid, but come on now. Luke McCaffrey and, Krusky Merritt here. I'm sorry, if that group's tearing you up and you have to go to, we got to throw it every down now, that's a problem on defense. But if they, what I assume will be a kind of lowish scoring, ugly-ish game, have to go throw it 40 times, 35 times in this game, and it's not screens and extensions of the run game, because that's fine too. I will sit here on Sunday when I get back from that game, win or lose, and say you need to fire your fucking coordinator.
Yeah, man. This is a game where you need to pound the rock, and you need to let Omari Hampton carry you to victory. I genuinely don't if you can get to 21, 23 points, I think you're good this week. I don't think you need to try and score 35 points to win this game. So just let Omari Hampton do what he does. Let's get the two big tight ends out there. Let's pound the rock. Let's play action. Let's screen. And just keep Herbert upright. I think if the Chargers can do that, I think we all feel so much better. We as the fan base need a win, and we need Herbert to not get hit in the worst way possible right now. The vibes this week among the fan base have been so low, and you and I are right there with them.
Yeah.
Just keep Herbert upright and win the game, whatever it looks like. I don't think we care. But man, does this group need a positive step forward this week in the worst way possible.
Yeah, it does. If we look back on this and go, oh, haha, okay, the Giants game, they were tired. It's a fluke. We're good to go now. Great. I would love for nothing else than to be like, oh, yeah, we're past this. Sorry, games happen. You got to lose some. Giants game, forget about it. In fact, maybe it inspired them and things got tighter. Hey, we are 3-1. We were 3-0 atop the division, and they still are. Here come the Chiefs. Fire under your ass. Here we go. That's possible. But they need it. Fan base needs it. We all need it. I don't know, not put down. What's the word? There were Chargers fans who thought the sky was falling on Sunday. And while I'm not there yet, I am really feeling the emotional effect of that loss a few days later.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will never, ever be the guy that calls for tanking. That's just not in my nature.
Heck no.
I've seen teams that have been tanking as a Chargers fan, and I do not like it. So I don't want to watch that again. I want to see the Chargers win football games, and hopefully this can be a bounce back performance for this particular group up front.
Yep.
All right, X factors of the week. For me, it's the Washington return game. Deebo Samuel, again, might not play this week, but the Commanders very quietly have been arguably the best return team in the NFL. Luke McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel are each averaging over 30 yards per kickoff return. Both of them have a long over 50, so both of them have shown that they can definitely take a kickoff return for the distance, or close to the distance, I should say. Jalen Lane, their wide receiver, formerly of Virginia Tech, who we talked about a little bit earlier, did return a punt for a touchdown last week. He has definitely shown a game-breaking ability. He also has 2 muffed punts for what it's worth, so he's been a bit more boomer bust than the kickoff returners have been. But either way, we've seen the Chargers coverage units not be the best. The kickoff unit and the punt unit have each given up big returns on multiple occasions. So we just talked about the Commanders offense is not particularly scaring us a whole lot. But this return game can absolutely set up an offense minus their potentially 3 best receivers with a lot of short fields if you give them the opportunity to do so. So the Chargers return, the Chargers coverage units, I should say, on special teams definitely has to step back up. We have no idea if Josh Harris is going to play. Nobody has asked about him for some reason. But he is eligible to return. And not that Josh Harris, the long snapper, is going to be like the straw that stirs the drink. But hey, man, he's definitely more athletic than the other guy. I'll tell you that for sure. So this is definitely a game where Ryan Ficken has to have his unit absolutely dialed in, or that could be the difference in the game. You know, the Chargers offense could be locked in this 17-14 kind of game, and Deebo Samuel pops one or Luke McCaffrey pops one, and suddenly game's over 21-17. And so it's very possible that these guys can flip this game on its head.
Yeah, I don't know what they're paying Josh Harris. Go ahead and double it. He's call it a good luck charm. I have no idea, but at this rate, I'd rather have Demi Lovato out there being a long snapper than the current kidding, because it's not that the long snapping specifically has been an issue. That's popped up a couple of times.
Right.
I don't know what it is. The operation is just different. And I did not respect long snapper play enough until you lose the Pro Bowl highest graded Madden player long snapper. And you see there's just a difference. Now, are players returning for 30 yards a punt? Is that on Josh Harris? It's not. But so as you said, like the return game needs to be better. Commanders take grades for whatever you want. That's been a big topic of discussion this week. But they are the highest graded special teams group on PFF. Not because of their kicker, because he's 7 for 10. It's mostly because of this return group, which was very, very strong. 2 muff punts by Lane is a little odd last week. But again, you also see that he can break one. And in this game, is anybody I understand against the Giants, if you said, hey, 30 points, the Chargers are going to score this game, you take advantage of the, Phillips and these corners, fine. Is anybody saying over 24 this game for the Chargers offense, especially if Becton doesn't play? I'm not. If it's that close, let's say even it's 23, 21 points for the Chargers. They have one good return from the Commanders. That screws them. That screws the Chargers if it's a very low scoring game. So got to be better this week. Mind their P's and Q's, or be on their whatever it is. Cross their T's, dot their I's. Whatever letter you want, just come out with a W.
Yeah. The saying is P's and Q's, by the way, just to be clear.
What is be on your P's and Q's?
It's
I know mind your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong? I don't know. Someone let me know.
I don't know. Anyways, we talked about the blitz. That's still your X factor of the week.
Well, when you load the slides into the slideshow, you can't really change it anymore at this point. So sure, that's definitely one for me. I guess because I have that, we've already discussed that, I will go with, can Herbert run with the football more than once and on purpose? Because it looked pretty good at the goal line. Granted, like that was the only time they officially called one. They tried to roll him out. Great. The pressure was getting to him in 1.1 seconds. Can he just run 3 times a game on purpose and not to be the power surge? I think we had decided power surge, says our poll, not the beer run. So can we do it a couple of times? If things aren't so great, you need a little spark. Herbert's rushing ability just feels like the spark.
Yeah, it does.
It was the spark, his first game ever, that energized the entire team against the Chiefs. That's one of my favorite plays I've ever seen, just because it had mojo, got everybody fired up. Against the Dolphins, against the Broncos, you name it. It fires up the team. If nothing else, give the team a little energy. Let Herbert run.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a good one. All right. I'm keeping it simple for our game picks this week. I truly think that Mekhi Becton's presence is a full touchdown swing. So if he plays, I'm going to say Chargers win 23-20. If he does not play, I say they lose 20-17. For me, it really is that big of a drop-off right now, going from Mekhi Becton to Jamari Sawyer against this defensive tackle unit, against this group that wants to pressure and blitz and everything like that. So Mekhi Becton, man, we need you. We need you in the worst way possible. Like, please, please, please get healthy and get out there. Otherwise, this is, I think, just could be ugly today or on Sunday. Goodness.
Yeah, Sunday. I will go kind of right there with you. I know it's a big if with one playing or one not. I will say Chargers win 2017 if he plays. If he does not, the Chargers will lose, I don't know, 17-16. They will lose that game by a point. Matt Gay gets a field goal or something. I don't know. 16-10 or 16-17, excuse me. Is that ugly? Yeah, it is. Is the Chargers offensive line pretty ugly without Becton? Yes, it is. So I would love to be wrong. And again, this could be a nightmare that we had against the Giants. We woke up, team's good the rest of the way. But what a monkey wrench. What a downer. What a bummer that game was. And now I see this game completely differently than I did 6 days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Tyler. Any other final thoughts on this game before we head out of here with some super chats?
Give me some life, Chargers, man. I need it, dude. I know it's October. So you want to do like trick or treat stuff or whatever. I would prefer more treat than trick.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mr. Dark Chow Chow getting us started. Is there a realistic chance JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, gets moved? So Chip Kelly, not a great quote today about Jackson Powers Johnson, saying his head is really, really big.
What? Ego?
Yeah, his ego. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if that is the case, I don't know if the Chargers are going to be super interested. If he's an actual head case, I don't know. Was Chip Kelly very popular with the Niners back in the day?
No, he was not. And granted, he's been much more popular in other instances. But the exact quote is, "I love JPJ, but his head is really big right now. He's a tough kid. He plays his tail off. He's a physical player, but we're working through it right now."
Okay. He also had apparently a pretty good game against the Bears. I mean, Brandon Thorne was pointing it out, I think, today.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's how he feels, but he also allows zero pressures. I mean, that sounds nice.
Yeah, I just don't know why you would say that.
I don't know if. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked he would say that after he's also now starting for them again.
Yeah. So is there a chance he gets moved? Maybe. The Raiders do feel like a couple games away from potentially like blowing this thing up a little bit. They're not trading JPJ to the Chargers for anybody thinking that. Like, yeah, these two teams hate each other. They're not making trades in the division like that.
Yeah, no chance.
Athir says, I think this is supposed to be please. He said earlier, please, my coach, he is on the O-line one ass all week in practice with simple message man up or sit on the bench. They will show up. Let's go Bolts.
He trusts. Oh, okay. So like light a fire under them. Very ironic that the word turnstile ended up in the same sentence as the offensive line. I think very fitting, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I do not trust anything about Harbaugh to Devlin to anybody about this offensive line. Unfortunately, good Becton signing.
Yeah, and Joe Alt was a very easy decision for them. Thier said, Brooke, the coming of King is Justin Herbert's. I assume that was
Return of the King,
Lord of the Rings thing.
I'm guessing. Yeah, I think a Return of the King thing. Sure. We used to have a 2 towers on this offensive line, and now we have, I don't know, what thing crumpled in the Doctor Strange movie that crushed Wanda. That place. That's what it is now.
The magic place where they fought and he was like the zombie Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that one. Or just like it was the 2 towers, but now it's Orthanc just exploding at the end of the movie.
There you go.
Spoiler, if you're listening.
There you
good
go.
Guys win.
Yeah. Mr. Dark Chow Chow says you will not find a better OG than Zion next year. So he's sticking with the bit there. I honestly have not looked at next year's.
Yeah, you genuinely might be right. I have no idea. Free agent guards next year.
Yeah, it's not a great group. Not a great group. John Simpson is a free agent. I would consider him better than Zion Johnson. Elijah Vera Tucker, also better, but very injured. That's about it.
All right. So a talented but injured guard, John Simpson.
I guess you could say Wyatt Teller, but he's definitely getting up there in age.
Are we going to go after? Oh gosh, who's the Jedrick Wills? Finally, somebody play him at guard or something. I don't know.
Kevin Zeiler's a free agent again next year.
Run it back,
But
man. No, run it
there,
back.
so there are a couple that I think are definitively better than Zion, but I think you and I are on the same page that if he continues to play like he has through 4 games, this last week was a bit of more of a miss. The first 3 were a bit more closer to hits. I think if that's the case every 4 games, then the Chargers are probably going to bring him back.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
maybe next year he'll be the center. I don't know. He's not.
If they say they're trying that again next year, dude, I'm skipping June and July. I can't do it.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. B wants to know, do we think Roman goes 12 personnel base to help the tackles for this game? Gadsden, 100-yard game incoming.
Oh. Maybe. I think, how much of the 12 personnel have they run this year? I guess it's hard to tell because they haven't had Fisk both games and then Disley. So maybe not as much as they would. Oh, well. I guess Matlock has lined up at tight end a little bit. Doesn't feel like as much as usual. Gaz in a 100-yard game, sure, why not? But I will say I was pleasantly surprised that he was still involved. It was not a 1-week wonder fluke game from him, even though he didn't get a ton of yards.
I'm trying to find the account that was tweeting out snap stuff this week. Or Anthony Reinhardt is the guy that was tweeting out personnel usage. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
While you guys are waiting, who's your favorite Lord of the Rings character? Let me know. And has it changed throughout your life? Because it has for me.
So he has not updated through week 4. But through 3 weeks, the Chargers ran 12 personnel, which is that's the 2 backs, right? No, that's 21 personnel.
Yeah.
12 is 2 tight ends, sorry.
Yeah.
They had only run 12 personnel technically on 11 snaps through 3 games. Now, a lot of that is different because you have, Scott Matlock is technically a fullback. They have run 21 personnel with Matlock out there 27 times. So that is definitely more common than 12 personnel. But again, that was just the first 3 games, not including this past week.
Okay. All right.
Gadsden 100-yard incoming. He could pop a big play for sure. I don't know if the volume is really going to be there for a 100-yard game.
Yeah.
It's really difficult for a tight end to get 100 yards. Like super difficult.
Yeah. Yep.
B also says Bozeman 47 out of 47 centers. Can we start Andre James? They're not benching Bradley Bozeman, you guys. And the PFF grades, I know it's bad. He's not really the 46th best center in the league. He's probably more
43rd.
20, yeah, he's more like 22, I think, maybe 25. So it's not great. I'm not going to say you're pretend like he's a great player, but he's not as bad as that PFF grade indicates, I think. I would have loved for Andre James to ever get a real chance at starting, but they have been very clear from the jump that is not what they think of him. They never let him get starting reps at all at any point in the offseason. It was either Bradley or it was Zion.
Yeah, I really love that I could put out a video that says the center competition was a joke, and everyone's like, well, I'm trusting Harbaugh, but it turns out that's just what it was, man. This whole center competition was a joke. Is he 46th? I don't know. I certainly have not graded and watched 46 players to tell you. But if you told me he was bottom 3rd in the league, I'd go, yeah, that clears.
Yeah. His best case scenario was maybe he's the 18th best center in the league. But we all knew this. They knew this. Their thought process is that he's a good enough run blocker. He's a good enough locker room guy that they're willing to deal with the deficiencies because of those things. And he was still voted a captain, so the players love him. Unfortunately for them and him, that's not how football works. You still have to produce. You can't just be a good guy and be okay with it.
Yeah. I will bet somebody $10 he's their center next year.
I don't know, man. Unless they can magically convince the Ravens to send them Tyler Linderbaum in the offseason.
Dude, no chance they would do that.
No, there is no chance. The Ravens offensive line without Linderbaum and the rest of that interior is arguably worse than the Chargers.
That's saying a lot. Yeah, that'd be nice. Unlikely. I will settle for anything else.
Yeah. Devo says, in my opinion, team was exhausted from playing 3 tough division teams and traveling also got to them. I'm optimistic they'll come back. Your content, keep up the good work. Bolt up.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. I don't recall seeing a whole lot of Devo comments in here before. So yeah, I think that's I'm hoping maybe it's copium or hopium that the Chargers were just truly exhausted. And they were, and it looked like it too. I just hope this return back to home can do something good for them. So it's possible.
Yeah. Would love to see it turn out that way. So, it's a good thing that they don't have any more East Coast trips coming up. Oh, wait. They have 2.
Except for Miami and the other one. And yeah.
Athier says that his bold prediction is the O-line will show up. No sacks, 4 pressures, 4 total hits. Bolts will beat the ass 27-7 statement win, I believe.
No sacks, 4 pressures, 4 total hits. What is that? Bud Dupree's whole season? And they win 27-7.
I would take that, honestly.
That's an improvement. That's a 25% increase.
It's so bad.
Man.
It's so bad, you
It's
guys.
really it's really bad. 27-7. I don't know. I said they'd beat the Giants pretty handily last week, so I can't say no chance this week. But listen, guys, again, whatever you think is going to happen, I will be in attendance. Drop that number, guys. Just bring that number down. Bet the under.
Hey man, you got the Broncos game this year. You're riding high that and the Bengals game, and you're doing great.
Yeah. No, if I'm like a good 3-0 space after a while, y'all better pay me to go to these games.
Yeah. Let's get Tyler going to more games. Be back with another one. Appreciate him for sending it. He's actually got another one in here later.
Oh, nice.
He never wants to see still return a punt again. KLS, please. It was not great. I can understand, he did it in college. Let's see what he's got for a little bit. What confused me is that they had Ladd do the ones that were kind of near the goal line.
Yeah.
And then for the other ones, they had still out there. I'm like, can we just pick one, and can we not have it be one of our 2 best players? I don't know if KLS can do it, but I just don't want Ladd and Tarheeb taking those extra hits. Or if you're gonna have Ladd out there, just have him fair catch it every single time. That's fine. But they missed Darius Davis, who has also not really looked like himself in the first 3 games. I know he didn't play this last week, but their return game is not good. Not good.
Yeah, nothing's been settled at all. I would love for it to be Keandre Lambert-Smith. That keeps him involved. That keeps him having a reason to be active on game day. So yeah, it'd be nice to have him. He's their fastest player. That's not Darius Davis.
Yes, by 40-yard dash, I would say yes.
Yeah, by the 40-yard dash. So probably
maybe Omarion. But Omarion feels like much more of like a build-up speed guy, not as like
yeah. I'd give it to Keandre Lambert-Smith. Although we need to stop finding 1 to 2 plays per game of him giving up or not knowing a route or running the wrong route or doing the wrong thing or line up the wrong way or getting a false start or getting an offsides or all that.
Yeah. Tough to earn snaps on offense when you don't know how to run routes and you give up on the other ones. So it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Ray says 4-1 guys, let's go. Appreciate Ray sending in a big one here. This team exceeded my expectations last year, and they exceeded my expectations to start this year. The team will do great this season. Will be good. Bolt up. I still think I love the positivity. I think the way the season ended last year sucked, but it was obviously a net positive. You and I kind of were thinking maybe 9-8, they go 11 wins, make the playoffs. For a quarter and a half, it looked like they might potentially win that game, and then it just kind of snowballed. But
Yeah.
Last year was definitely a net positive. I know we've had our gripes about like certain things, but I still right now still think that this team can make the playoffs. It's just the vibes after that Giants game are bad, but
Yeah.
I still think the team will be able to respond, at some point.
Yeah, overall, a lot of positives if the season ended today. Obviously, the record is nice, and technically they're winning the division. But Quentin Johnson takes a step forward. Keenan Allen, if he's back next year, and I think he will be, you kind of have answered your receiver room. And Trey Harris will take a step forward. Everybody takes a step forward. Zion Johnson, if he's back, we'll see. But like he is better this year, so that's good. Signing Mekhi Becton, even though he's been in and out of the lineup, that makes me feel better about the Chargers moving forward because they nailed a signing of an interior offensive lineman, which is good. So a lot of positives out there. They picked Hampton. That looks great. Jamari Caldwell, that was a big question mark. Can they develop interior defensive lineman and a defensive player in the third round, which they really didn't do last year? That looks good. So a lot of positives, even if they don't really go over the distance this year.
Yeah, and Trey Harris and Rhonda Gadsden are kind of flashing some more right now. Justin Boygby also starting to flash a little bit more. So there's definitely a lot of positives on the roster, but that offensive line, man, it just continues to be the thorn in our side. Last one from B says Tom Bombadil. I don't know how to say that, honestly. This is a book Lord of the Rings character, right?
Correct. Yeah, Tom Bombadil is a book character. They didn't include him. Everybody loves him. Obviously, the movies are still very good without him. I loved him as a playable player, sort of, in the Battle for Middle-earth 2 game, where you could just kind of let him wreck shop. B probably knows what I'm talking about if he knows what Tom Bombadil is. I'm replaying those games right now, actually, and it's awesome.
Nice. I do not have a take on the greatest character that I feel great like you. It changes a lot. Like Aragorn obviously is when I was a kid watching them, I was like, Aragorn's the best. And then there were other times where I was like, Legolas is super cool, but his character is just kind of like,
yeah.
I went through a phase where I loved like Boromir's redemption arc, and I just thought it was so cool. Faramir and his arc is sad, but also again a very positive redemption story. I've gone through stages where Gandalf I feel like is the best one. So that's Samwise Gamgee is great. I've never been a Frodo guy, personally. But there's so many good characters in Lord of the Rings that it's hard to just pick one. But I also did not read the books, and I played some of the games, but I don't remember Tom Bombadil on the games for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't think he was heavily featured, especially if it was like based on the movie, then clearly not. But he's also in the Rings of Power series, isn't he? Isn't Tom Bombadil the guy that gives Gandalf he finds him in the second season? Is that not Tom Bombadil, everybody? That's how much I really cared about that show, by the way. Yeah, I got nothing.
I checked out on that show pretty quick.
Had one good game, one good episode. It was pretty sick, and then it was a total bag of farts. Yeah. Greatest character, so for me as a kid, it's like the exciting characters. It's like Legolas, that's freaking cool. Gimli makes me laugh. My sisters and I, my cousins, we all did a reenactment of the Fellowship of the Ring through about the first half. I was Frodo. It's not a very fun character. You just sit there and are possessed half the time. No funny lines, nothing. And I do not have Elijah Wood's beautiful blue eyes. So just not a great one. Please don't watch that one ever. If the Chargers win the Super Bowl, maybe I'll release it. Aragorn, as I got, Sam, you appreciate more and more as like the hero of it. Gollum's hilarious. At some point, it was like the Stitch voice and the Gollum voice as a kid were just like the two ones I loved doing. Very similar. But then like Gandalf, as you get older and you start feeling your mortality, then he looks at you with his eyes, and Ian McKellen freaking crushes that. Love Ian McKellen as Gandalf. Boromir as I got older. Just everything changes. So it's a pretty good series. I forgot, or Theoden, for God's sake. I mean, his redemption.
Yeah, King Theoden.
He has to go through. And so I'm excited to see what Brooke thinks of it.
Yeah. I'm totally gonna be that guy. I'm gonna like look at her like every time, expecting like a good reaction, So hopefully it works.
Are you going to tell her like when Aragorn kicks the helmet and you're like he broke his foot, or are you gonna tell him like when Gandalf
I might tell her like after?
Wall,
I might tell her stuff after that, but not during.
Yeah.
A couple other ones in here. Blaze Gaspari with a big $50 one. We appreciate the heck out of that for sure. Says tough going from a top 5 team to a joke in football world over the weekend. I don't know if that is true, but I don't know. What a disaster Conklin has been. Hopefully Gazin continues to ball out. BTFU, and thanks for all you guys do. We appreciate you, Blaze, for jumping in here and sending a big super chat. I don't know if I would say Conklin has been a disaster. The first game looked really cool. I know he technically fumbled one of those catches, but I just don't think we've really seen him be super involved, which I think he probably signed thinking that he was going to be involved. But again, if Rondé Godson is playing well, then by all means continue to give him touches.
Yeah, I wonder if things just kind of changed. I don't remember him being as involved as even like a Hayden Hurst last year in camp, but it seemed like he'd be the guy. But then you emerge, you sign Keenan Allen. There's your security blanket. Quentin Johnston emerges. You've got that option. Gazin emerges. There's that option. I think it's just less to go around. But yeah, Blaze, thank you for the super chat. Are the Chargers a joke in the football world of the weekend? Not necessarily, but I feel people are ready to say that the Chargers were just fakes and pretenders the whole time.
And guys like Nick Wright are definitely like making jokes about the Chargers, but they always do that anyway. If they lose to the Commanders, it definitely is going to be a lot of negative publicity around this team. And not that matters. Again, who could have predicted the state of the offensive line right now? But there were people like completely buying into them being a Super Bowl contender at this time last week. And now that part is not true, but it is what it is. B back says nerds, which he's the one asking the question, so he can say that. And then Athir says, Tyler, enjoy the game. Be safely. We will win, bro.
I hope so. My wife's going, so it's a double date now between my parents and my wife and I, so it should be good. She's getting even more into specifically Chargers football, and I hope I don't show her a blowout game or Herbert's leg turns the other direction or something. Like, I hope it's a good one.
Yeah, hopefully. At the end of the day, seeing football in person is always fun. So
is it?
Hopefully this team, not always, I guess, but for the most part. Brooke and I saw a very unfun game against the Jaguars the week after Herbert broke his ribs.
Oh, God, that's right. Yikes. Woo!
But we had already paid for the tickets, reserved a hotel, so we did not have a choice.
Did you sit through the whole game?
No, we left through like the third quarter. Yeah.
I don't blame you.
We talked about this previously, but I have been drilled into me that you do not leave football games early, but that game was a depressing game.
That season ended in week 3, man.
Yep.
That was brutal.
But they ended up making the playoffs that year. So oh wait, no, that was the year after.
Wait.
No, they did make the playoffs when he hurt his ribs. 2022, right?
Oh yeah, because Slater was going to return for the divisional round if they just had won.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. That is going to do it for us today. What'd you say?
Oh, we just right in the same span of 2 minutes, we got 2 new members, one from L1F3 and one from Chrissy. Just all of a sudden, just new members. Thank you guys.
Yeah, appreciate you guys jumping in. Make sure to get in the Discord right there. Mr. Dark Chow Chow just sent one in and said, P.S. I like Chow Chows a lot now. That's good for you.
Is that a center prospect? No, I'm kidding. But it's your offensive lineman.
Yes. All right. So Tyler, like you said, will be at this game. So we are going to be live after Sunday Night Football. Hopefully we do not have to stew in a loss for that long. So hopefully it can be after a good win. And we'll see you guys at that point. As always, make sure leave a rating, like, comment, all that good stuff does genuinely help continue to grow our show. And we will see you on Sunday. As always, bolt up.